Good Friday morning. My name is Jerry Miller. Welcome to Real Talk. This is an insider's guide to real estate across Charlottesville, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world. We are live on the I Love CVille Network. We are powered by the Yes Team Realtors. The Yes Team Realtors, Keith and Yonna Smith, trusted partners in the real estate game in Virginia. Today's guest, Chris Sylves, is the Vice President of Sales at Stanley Martin Companies, an organization that is impacting this community and Central Virginia at large tremendously. We're going to welcome Chris in T-minus 30 seconds or so. Before we do, Judah Wickower, our director, why don't we welcome the distinguished gentleman,
thank you, sir.
Keith Smith,
Thank you for
to
doing
the
that.
program. Senor Smith, ¿qué pasa, mi amigo?
¿Qué pasa, amigo? Actually, it's funny you should start off with Spanish. I was at Bebedero. Did I say that
Yeah,
correctly?
the
Yonna and
Bebedero.
I went to go Vincent Zorn play last night and have a couple of the tequilas and a little bit of tacos. It was a pretty good thing.
Was it good?
It was beyond good.
Good.
Beyond good. I say this all the time. I love to watch a master at their craft. And those two guys are masters at their craft. So we're following through on our new construction month, and I couldn't think of a better, and I prefer not to use the word production builder because it kind of has some negative vibes to it because they clearly are not what I consider a production company. But we got Chris sitting across the table from us, and if not the second largest, not the largest builder in our marketplace, and I'm looking forward to hear what he's got to say about trends and all kinds of great stuff, and then get into his what makes Chris Chris. I found out that his wife is from Portland, and I happen to love Portland, so we chatted about that for a little while. So I'll let you do your thing, and I'll get out of the way for a second.
Fantastic. Chris, welcome
Thank you.
to Real Talk. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Good to be here.
It's great to have you. First question, all our guests.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself to the viewing public and what you're all about.
Awesome. My name is Chris Sylves. I'm the Vice President of Sales here for Stanley Martin Homes in Charlottesville. And we're a mid-Atlantic home building company. Has a great presence here in the Charlottesville-Albemarle market. We build about 200 homes a year in this market. I live in Crozet with my wife, Darcy. We've been in Charlottesville, Albemarle since this month is our 14th anniversary here. We just love it. We started our time here in Albemarle County in the east part of the county and then moved out west. It's just my wife and I, so all of our friends with kids kind of migrated out there for the school systems, and we followed along. Much like I see in my industry, young families move here and their parents follow them. So it's good stuff. We love to spend time outdoors, take part in the 151 corridor with all the beautiful wineries. It's a great place to live.
One of your colleagues from Stanley Martin, Amanda Lamont, watching as we speak. How about an introduction, and then I'll get out of the way and pass the torch to you. An introduction to Stanley Martin to the viewing public.
Yeah, so Stanley Martin is a moderately sized home building company. Like I said, we're just getting ready to crack into the top 25 in national home builders in size. So we've grown quite a bit in the last 6 to 7 years. But we have, with this growth, we've kind of just tried to figure out what our identity really is. And it's evolved over the last many years. Keith talked a little bit earlier about, is it a production building home company? Is it something a little bit more customized than that? And we've really found a great balance. But we've been working on this this elevator pitch, if you will, of just kind of like who we are and what we are. And we've kind of landed on, finding the right home is not easy. At Stanley Martin, we design and build houses that provide a home that people can love and then they can afford. And that's really about it. We have people that buy homes from us in the 200s, and we have people that buy homes from us over $1 million. And it's all really about what serves their needs best, and they can dictate their own path to getting what's important.
So Yonna and I have sold, I think last year, maybe half a dozen of your products.
Yeah.
Yonna will probably correct me.
Great customers.
Thank you. But That's all Yonna, by the way. And he knows that.
I do know that.
So do I.
Yeah, that's what most people do, right? What was the guy? We were at Marie Bet and was sitting next to the guy that I see all the time there, and he leaned over to me and he goes, "What do you do?
She's the better 7/8.
What do you actually do?" And I went, "Well, not very much, actually." But but it's funny you should say that because it triggered it. We have sold, $200,000 townhomes, and we've also sold, approaching $1 million products. So their product range is rather wide. And I think we said this before we went on air when the mics were hot. I did some quick numbers this morning. Just the first month, let's call it 2 months, a third of the total amount of closings were new construction. I can dig in here and recite the exact number, but the bottom line is a third of the market. And that doesn't take into consideration stuff that never makes it to the MLS, right? So in reality, and if Greg is watching, he'll probably correct me, Greg Slater, if we factor in those, it's probably a little bit higher than a third. So I kind of have four kind of topics I want to cover a little bit today. One of the questions we get as agents all the time is, what's the new trends, right? What are the home builders seeing in the future to provide for product? Because you have to kind of stay ahead of the curve, right? You kind of have to almost guess
it's huge. It takes
what my buyer wants, right?
Yeah.
And produce that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Cool.
And in home building, trying to see the future the best you can through data and analytics and things is super important because, you're not extremely nimble in the fact that you just
It takes a while to build a home.
Well, it also takes a while to design one and get the right land and the right locations. And so you have to be anticipatory in all of that. And so, we certainly stay ahead of that to the best of our abilities, for sure.
Give us some insight into, and I'm sure you want to know this, trends that are on the horizon and where we're going. My wife is in love with modern gray, open floor plans, the white granite, the white kitchen, the white cabinets. Where are we going? What's next? What am I going to end up paying for now?
Well, I can tell you, Mr. and Mrs. Smith
Yeah.
are doing that to our house that's 18 years old. Everything's doing exactly those
Right,
things.
and that's it. I mean, you kind of nailed it. Grays, white kitchens. The white kitchen really has some staying power.
So seafoam green toilets are out.
They may be back,
They
but
may
they're
be
back right now. Yeah, but a seafoam backsplash, a seafoam green backsplash is really popular. So you see those types of things. White cabinets have in the white. I'm building 5 new model homes as we speak. That'll just be on display late this summer, early this fall during the Parade of Homes, and all white kitchens. So that's really what people have in demand. We're really paying a lot of attention to our architecture, which is trending towards a modern farmhouse look. A lot of vertical lines, board and batten, very simple, clean lines. And so those are really the trends that you're seeing. Yeah.
So the Parade of Homes is in October. Again, just to kind of, as we were batting back and forth here, you need to stay. You started that design last year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? Selected the design, the features, the condition, all that great stuff a year ago in projection of what the market might want.
That's correct. Yeah, and we really have. We had a meeting yesterday of new product that you'll see Parade of Homes 2021.
Really? That far in advance? Wow.
Yeah. So we have.
You want to kind of
Give us a sneak peek.
Give us a sneak peek on what it might be or not? Or?
No, absolutely, yeah. So I think one thing we'll talk about today, obviously, is affordability and ways to bring that to the market. And we believe that we can do that through a 2/2 townhouse product. And 2/2 is a 4-level townhome that's actually 2 units, and it's a condominium type of environment. It's been really popular in Northern Virginia, Richmond, and I think that Charlottesville is really ready to support that. And so you'll see that in a couple of our neighborhoods for sale late this year and deliveries next year. Yeah.
So you just stepped into what we've been talking about for quite some time, and I was unaware of that product type coming on. There was I believe a city council meeting yesterday where they're talking about affordability, and they're actually having this. It's a work session. They're actually having this discussion of changing the zoning to allow a product like that, because that's as we talked about Portland and Seattle, they've adopted that
Sure.
policy, and that's literally what happens. It's 1/1 or 2/2,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah,
That's
it's a great product.
Do you
and-
know where you want to put that?
I do,
at this
yeah.
point?
So we're gonna launch it for sales early this fall in the Brook Hill neighborhood, so
Nice.
29 North.
Yeah.
So we'll have a nice presence of the 2/2 condo product up there, and then we also are going to offer it in Crozet.
Nice.
Yeah, we've really worked hard to try to lower the barrier entry to Western Albemarle as far as price goes, and we feel this is a great way to do it.
Those are going to sell all day, every day, red hot.
I've got a client that's on the VIP waiting list on
Yeah.
that already. We did that, I think, last Sunday.
Yeah, our Pleasant Green neighborhood in Crozet is right at the base of the Blue Ridge, panoramic views of the mountains, and these will actually have 400 square foot rooftop terraces.
Get out.
No, so it's going to be pretty incredible.
What kind of price point are we talking for that?
I don't have it set in stone yet, but we're targeting in the 200s for sure.
That is going to crush it.
So that's why my client was like, we met on Sunday because I have this in my DNA.
Yeah.
Chris was nice enough to send me the site plan. I said, that's the one you want.
Yeah. We have, there'll be 2 units. The lower
Lot-wise.
level won't have the rooftop, of course, and so it's a little bit smaller. It's about 1,500 square feet, and we're looking to target that in, the mid 200s, and then you'll get to the upper units in the upper 2s, and, with options and things, I'll probably go into the 300s, but, 2,000 square feet, and these products are pretty incredible. They're 50 feet deep, over 20 feet wide, and they're clear spans, so it's one open floor plan. It's terrific. Kitchen, eating space, huge, great rooms and family rooms, and it's really wonderful.
So one of the things we'll have to do is pop in the Stanley Martin website.
Yeah,
in
that's
the,
right.
in the feed for you. I'm glad to hear that. And the good thing about that Brook Hill is where it's located, right? It's right. One end of it is on what I call Avon, and the other end is Route 20.
Yeah, so
correct?
that's actually Spring Hill Village.
Yeah,
So
you're talking 29 North.
Yeah, Brook Hill is 29 North, so
Yeah.
we'll have the condo product up there.
I know.
Yeah.
And the townhome product is down on
Thank
Avon.
you for correcting me.
No worries.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and when it doesn't exist, it's hard to keep track of where it's all at.
Matt Neese, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Ray Cadell, welcome to the program. We got 4 real estate firms watching the show here.
Great.
This portion of the program, thanks to First Heritage Mortgage and Mike Bittrick, Keith Smith.
Yeah, so we're
Yeah.
we're talking new construction, and Mike it rocks and rolls with new construction. Every one of Stanley Martin's products that we've ever sold worked with Mike. So he does everything, but he's really super good at new construction. So
Yeah,
give
his
him-
whole team over there is terrific.
Yeah,
They're our
sure.
preferred lender. They're our lender partner, and we try to.
Well, let's talk about that for
Yeah.
a little bit, because that's a new construction secret that, I'm sure all the agents watching are aware of this, but maybe the general public is not aware of it. If we, and I apologize, Brook Hill is the client that we actually signed a lot on Sunday, but you typically offer incentive packages if you use your preferred vendors.
Yeah.
And it's a substantial savings, because at the end of the day, it's the same interest rate, right?
It is, yeah, and oftentimes it's it's better in some instances just because of the volume that somebody like First Heritage does. Our goal in this is to make home buying easy for people. We've got great floor plans, we've got great locations, and we can make it easy for them to get. And part of that is, steering them to our trusted partners of saying, hey, First Heritage Mortgage is a great lender. We incentivize you to use them because we know the transaction is going to go smooth for them and for us. And same thing with our settlement firms. First Excel Title is a great settlement company. And so we can really give you all the connections at one stop, and we're happy to contribute some money towards that because it's a tremendous convenience for us to know that the transaction is going to be settled when it's supposed to be, on time, and without a lot of hassle.
Christie's, Long and Foster, and Real Estate 3, welcome to the program. Michael Plecker, he says this about you. That's a stand-up guy speaking right there. Good to see Chris on the show. Neil says, great. Neil Williamson, who we saw in the studio. We're going to be on Michael Guthrie's radio show ourselves. Neil Williamson says, great new affordable products from Stanley Martin in Crozet and Brookwood. That sounds fantastic. Now we need to work on the transit, the public transportation around those areas. We
Yeah.
can talk about that later in the program for sure. Keith Rosenfield, the owner of Hotcakes in Barracks Road Shopping Center, watching the program as we speak. What I love about that price point is desperately missing from this market, especially from a new construction standpoint.
Yeah.
You can find a condo, and you can find some townhomes that are newish, but that price point in the 2s and early 3s, especially in Western Albemarle, from a brand new, design it from start, along someone of your quality or a team member of your quality, that is really hard to find.
Yeah. And we're mindful of that. I mean, that's where our hot market is right now. If you take Avon Street, what Keith is talking about, we've sold 12 homes so far this year. So in the last 45 days in our Avinity Estates neighborhood, townhomes in the low 300s, and that neighborhood's now sold out. So Keith brought us his clients for Spring Hill Village, which is a quarter mile down the road. You're still within minutes to Fifth Street Station and all the conveniences. We sent out a marketing piece Tuesday night to people to gauge interest in that neighborhood, and we had over 100 responses in 48 hours. So it's really it's a great spot, and it's a great price point, and we're mindful of that and trying to focus on it.
Well, we stopped what we were doing to go see Amanda and say, here's our check, this is our lot.
Right.
Amanda's watching.
Yeah.
Well, she's outstanding.
She's awesome.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about features and all that stuff and conditions, but I think we will talk a little bit about where is Stanley Martin going with the buyer, right? What kind of buyer are you seeing that's entering into the new construction market? And I kind of prefaced this. We were sitting in Marie Bet with Yvonne, our daughter who's in from Seattle, and God love her, she was asking every question of Chris that I wanted to ask today. What kind of features you have in it. And
so she fits our, one of our biggest buyer profiles, right? That first-time buyer. The increase in population growth over the next 5 years is going to grow the most in the 30 to 45 age range, and it's also going to grow the most in what we would call the downsizer age range of 60 to 75.
You're talking the buyer population.
Really the population in general,
okay.
But those people are certainly going to look to change their situation, right? The millennials have decided now it's time to start buying houses, and that's kind of that entry-level buyer that we're seeing. 4 or 5 of the customers that we sold homes to on Avon in the last 45 days came from a rental situation where a neighboring great apartment complex raised their rents, and they said, hey, enough's enough. We can own for this amount of money. And so that is kind of what we're seeing, is we're going to pay attention to those growing age population demographics, and we're focused on delivering homes opportunities to our first-time home buyers and to our downsized buyers. And that's reflective in the condos, the townhome for our first-time buyers, what we would think they're going to be attracted to. But we also have a really robust villa offering where it's an attached product, but it's a 2-car garage, first floor owner's bedroom. And so that product is in high demand as well. Now, we get thrown a curveball every once in a while where we have retirees buying townhomes. You think they're trying to simplify their situation and live on one level, so aging in place does not become a barrier. But really price is what drives people, of course, to what they can afford.
Well, because that was one of the questions I asked Yvonne when we were sitting here. Do you want a master bedroom on the main level, on the upper level? And Yonna and I, or Juan, we always look at the market, and we're actually really considering, a townhome with a master up. Particularly if it's not a straight set of stairs, right?
Yeah.
If it goes up to a landing and turns, us old dudes can take our time to go.
Yeah, well, people are so active these days, and the stairs really, I don't see like they're a barrier as they traditionally have been.
I think location is more, like we talk about this all the time, location,
exactly.
location, price, features, and conditions, right? So if I have a townhome closer to some place that I want to be, i.e. a brewery, in my case, or a vineyard,
sure.
I'll kind of say, all right, well, maybe the stairs I can deal with.
Yeah. That our condominium product in Richmond, we built a really successful project at Rockets Landing. I don't know if you all are familiar with that, but great
location. It's fantastic. It's
right.
fun.
Yeah, and over 50% of the purchasers for the upper floor units were of retirement age.
Really?
Yeah. So it was a surprise to us, but it's great useful data. Yeah.
This portion of the show, why don't we give some love to Mac Weems and State Farm, Keith?
Yeah, so Mac is actually going to be coming and joining us. I can't remember what day in March, and we're going to have AHIP folks here. We're going to have Jen here, and we're going to talk about the awesome stuff that the AHIP is doing to help people stay in their homes. But if you need any insurance needs, give Mac a call, and she will take care of you.
It's interesting. You and I often talk about, and we're going to throw it to Chris.
Yeah.
What is the next Crozet? Crozet gangbusters.
Yeah.
School system's fantastic.
Yeah.
You have the proximity to, as we call it, 150 Fun and 151 Corridor. Close to town, close to Ivy, close to Waynesboro, now Wegmans from a shopping standpoint. We routinely ask, kind of like from a crystal ball standpoint, what is going to be the next Crozet hotspot? No better guy to ask that question to you. I mean, your entire business is projections, predicting, crystal balling where the market's going to go.
Well, before Chris answers that, there's Stanley Martin's a little different than maybe some of the other national chains, and maybe you might correct me, but you guys are also developers.
We are, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're the largest land developer in Central Virginia now. I mean, just with our development team, they're great to have as a builder partner because we work together. Those collaborative meetings I talk about that happen years in advance, we look at site plans and we, maximize the space and the views, and they listen. They're not just looking for, density or what's easy or cheap. We want to build great-looking neighborhoods, and I think you find that, we spoke about Oak Hill Farm earlier, which was a tremendous success.
The former Wintergreen Farm.
That's exactly right, yeah. And we, I think we kept the integrity of that site really well, and then it's finished, it's done. The fencing's in, the landscaping is in, the entry monuments come early, and all the amenities go in up front. And so they're a tremendous partner of ours to help us succeed.
Can I ask a layman's question?
Sure.
For the layman's, me included here, the difference between, say, a developer and a builder.
Yeah, so it's really twofold. It's putting the lots on the ground, is what we call it. Infrastructure, getting things zoned, approved, and the streets going in, utilities going in, and then they hand it off to my side of the business, which is to sell and market the product that we feel best fits the area and actually go vertical with the homes.
So you and I are spending way too much time together.
Were you going to ask that?
Literally, I was some variation of that. Yeah. I'm like, damn, he took my question.
We spent a lot of time together.
Gotcha.
Damn, he took my question. But I'll twist it a little bit from a real estate agent's perspective or a realtor's perspective. And I'm kind of a unique anomaly because I've kind of been there, done that on the building and development side of it. But from my perspective, what Stanley Martin brings to the table is a little better. You're not dealing with two different folks, right?
There's no finger pointing.
Right, it's one entity. It does everything. If I have a problem on the development side, the sales side says, hey, why don't we do this, vice versa. And we've had situations in homes that we bought and sold together that, there was some challenges at the end, and the thing was we were able to put everybody together at the table and fix it. Yeah. So that's why Stanley Martin brings this asset to the table. So you're 100% right. It's a whole different animal, right? But there's very few developer builders out there, and you might correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there is. Excuse me, Frank does that, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there are some for sure. We just think it's really refreshing for me. I've worked in both sides of the industry, where I've worked as just a builder buying lots, and you don't have control over saying I'd like to see something different here and making it happen. You have to wait and convince and ask, and maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't.
Now you have to deal with what you're handed, right?
Yeah, sure. And so it's really great.
Can you give us the flip book of how like a neighborhood like Whittington or Oak Hill comes to fruition? Like start to finish, broad strokes there. We don't have to get in the weeds.
Yeah.
But how does Stanley Martin say, I'm going to go Wintergreen Farm to Oak Hill Farm?
So, we have a development partner and the landowner that had, a strategic partner and landowner that owned Wintergreen Farm, and they had the site really paper ready, if you will. So they had the site plan, it was approved, it fit into all the zoning requirements. They brought it to us, and they said, we talked about price and what we could sell the homes for, and we took that parcel and bought it from them, and then we executed the development side of it. During that time, we look at proximity, what's going on in the marketplace. That neighborhood was really on the cusp of the Fifth Street explosion, right? The Wegmans effect, which we talked about, or Fifth Street Station. And we pick the product we feel best fits the home sites, half acre, single family detached. We know the buyer profile that's going to be looking for that. And we pick out the home sites, we price them out, put them on the ground, features we know that'll be attractive to that home buyer, and really make a compelling reason for people to move there.
So Chris's partner in crime is Jeremy Swink. Mm-hmm. And Jeremy runs the development part of it. And Jeremy is anywhere between 2 to 5 years ahead of where we're sitting today in his thinking.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And maybe sometimes longer than that. And they're out looking and staying in front of. And so a lot of this analytics that we just saw who the buyer profile is going to be these many years down the road, they were far ahead of it. And Jeremy, I know well, and he and I have a cup of coffee from time to time and pick each other's brains on where the market's going to go. This has kind of generated this question, where is the next Crozet? Mm-hmm. We talk about it. I kind of am a fan of Zion's Crossroads. Mm-hmm. But are you guys on the other side of the mountain yet? Or
we're not, no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Any interest?
Yeah, for sure. I think Keith and I had a pretty quick conversation at the beginning of the year. He had a prospect that was looking for one of our villa products, but they needed to be in the low 300s, and our villas in Western Albemarle start in the high 300s. And if you take that step over the mountain, I think that there's opportunity west of town in Augusta County and Waynesboro to deliver a product like that.
Why? Because the dirt's cheaper?
Yeah.
So that brings back one of our terms we use regularly here, drive to qualify, right? So the vertical portion, the house of it, really isn't that much different.
It's not.
It's purely in the ground. Yep. Is that correct?
Permits and proffers may adjust that a little bit, but yeah, it's primarily in the land.
Correct.
One thing that we saw over the last 15 years with the housing boom and then the housing dip in the mid-2000s.
That wasn't a dip.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
That wasn't a dip.
This is the positive guy.
Well, I've convinced myself that's why
I'm just telling you that was not a dip.
Right. That was back when I had long hair.
I'm just making it real, brother.
Yeah,
that's right. You used to have hair. Yeah, exactly. Used to be good looking. Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
You got it. But land prices didn't really reset, right? The homes and land together did, but when you go to purchase land to build on, the values really stayed the same and continued to increase. And so I think that's where you see these 2/2 products is trying to figure out a way to put more units on one footprint of land. So
you mentioned at Coffee you sold your 30th house this year?
Last night we sold our 30th home in this calendar year.
Of 2020?
Yes, sir.
Good for you.
Yeah,
so what's your projection for 2020?
We should be on either side.
There's only 253,000 people.
There's a lot of people that pay my bills or pay my paychecks that hold me to it. So
I'll be quiet.
We're targeting about 200 homes this year.
I'll retract my question.
No. I'm not.
He doesn't mind. He's saying I have to. This is my threshold.
Yeah, right.
That I have to do.
Yeah.
200 in 2020.
Yeah.
Wow. I like it. A lot of twos in that.
175 last year.
Good for you. Well, you're on a good start.
So
we are.
That would be maybe second in the market, potentially behind Ryan, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's great. We build primarily in Albemarle County. We have one neighborhood out in Louisa, Spring Creek, which is a gem. But yeah, so I think if you look at the number of new home sales in what we'll call Charlottesville, that'll definitely lead the pack.
So you're thinking, maybe you just answered it with what you just said there, Zion's Crossroads. And that Louisa corridor, what you're saying, the water infrastructure's there.
Yeah, I just, the developer geek in me knows that all the infrastructure's there to make this happen. Land is a little bit more cost effective out there, but not too much.
No.
I mean, land is just expensive all over.
It is.
The jurisdiction's easy to work with. They want you to be there. The infrastructure is going to be there. So I see that just growing, in my personal opinion. But I also see the other side of the mountain growing too.
Well, what about Green? I got a lot of friends going out to Green.
For sure.
I mean, throw it to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that what we're going to see more of is this term that's been thrown around called surban. It's surban, so it's suburban and urban kind of together. I think of
We just
places.
learned something today.
Yeah, I think places
Did you
like.
just make that up?
I did not. So no, I can't think
I think he did. I think he did.
Surban.
Yeah.
I like that.
So
I'll go
you
with
have a neighborhood like Brook Hill, for instance, right? That's going to have all different types of homes, and then you're going to have all of the features that people need to live their life in that location too. You're going to have, fitness. You're going to have the new ice park up there. You're going to have Star Hill Brewery. You're going to have all of the retail, and it's suburban, but it has all the urban amenities that you're looking for in a close-in proximity. So it creates it walkable. You're not walkable to the downtown mall, of course, but you're walkable to everything that
Kind of like what you're seeing in Old Trail.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, Old Trail is
but
a
a little
suburban
bit
type
more,
of model.
though, right? There's a
Of
little
course,
more.
yeah. I think it's going to be a little bit more commercial up there for sure.
So how many lots you got there?
So our first bit, we have 38 of the 2-over-2 home sites in one section, then we have 110 in another phase, and then we have about 50 villa lots right now.
So villas or duplexes.
How many phases there?
I don't even, it's such a big parcel, I don't even know that that's all been nailed down yet.
Gotcha.
So I'm
there's
doing the math in my head. I'm trying to figure out if you're burning through 200 units plus a year, where you going next?
Yeah, so we have 300 and some units at Pleasant Green. We have just shy of 100 units in Glenbrook and Foothill Crossing in Crozet.
Good for you.
Brook Hill. We've got a great project coming up in the city of Charlottesville, somewhere we haven't been in quite some time.
Where's that?
It's off Azalea, right near Azalea Park. So
Yeah.
JPA and Azalea Drive. We're going to do Azalea
Southside.
Springs. Yeah, Fry Springs neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to do some single-family detached there late this year.
That's going to crush it.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
What's the name of that project? I'm writing this down.
It's called
Yeah, we are literally. Can you see we're soaking
this is great.
I'm
this
like,
is like your
okay.
audience. This is really what this is a great
You
use
love this
for me.
stuff.
I do because I get to make my partners, my real estate partners, insiders as to what's coming up before the general public knows about it.
Sure.
And,
They're evangelists for the brand and the properties.
They are. It's great.
Well, let's
So-
talk about this Fry Springs a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm writing notes down. Come on.
It's Azalea Springs is what we're going to call it. It's off Azalea Drive in the Fry Springs neighborhood.
Got it.
There'll be 40, right around 45 lots in there.
45 R1s?
Detached units?
They're detached units, yep.
Yeah, what are they gonna be starting
They're going to
at?
be, we're targeting either side of 500, so I think
Okay.
we're going to do them in the high fours.
Okay.
That's going to sell all day, every day.
Yeah, we're going to do a 30-foot wide
Twice on
product
Sunday.
in there, and single car, 2-car garage opportunities.
On what, like 0.3, 0.4s?
Yeah, they're smaller home sites, but the location, you
Yeah,
really
it's
can't
cool.
beat it. Yeah, it's
Wow.
great.
We're going to talk over
Yeah, I was going to say, I have some buddies that want that right now.
King, all of a sudden I just woke up.
Yeah.
Do you have this fear at all? This area is so freaking popular.
Yep.
And the demand is so astronomical. I mean, we're talking like people from the north, people from the west, people moving here, especially as Charlottesville got the moniker best place to live. Do you have the fear that we're going to potentially run out of dirt? You think about that?
I guess maybe a little bit, but every time I think about that, Jeremy goes and signs up another 800 lots in 2019 for, our market and throughout these different neighborhoods. And so I think that you're going to see the market change a little bit with more of that spread that you talked about earlier. I think you're going to see, 29 North has a lot of opportunity. And Brook Hill is one parcel of it. Well, you have the whole other side of 29. So I don't really think that we're going to run out of dirt. I think it's going to continue to. Costs are going to continue to rise on it, but
Well, that's kind of where I wanted to go next, because
Yeah.
we talk about this all the time, right? So one of my questions I have written down for today is affordability and availability, right? So it's if we're and 500,000 is a big number, right? And I'm excited about this affordable product that you're trying to do. But what is Stanley Martin trying to do? What does it want to do? Where does it see the barriers? Where can Stanley Martin help achieve some of these goals that everybody's talking about? At the work session yesterday was all about affordable housing.
Good question.
And how can we do this together? As you know, I chair the Regional Housing Partnership, so the team is to bring, the plan is to bring folks like yourself at the table. So I'm doing a bit of a pitch here,
Yeah.
right? To sit down with the elected officials, to sit down with the nonprofits, and sit down with the people that we're trying to serve, the buyer, for lack of a better term.
Right.
So what can Stanley Martin do to help us get there?
Well, I think the thing that we have our focus on is really those condominium units.
The 2/2s?
Yeah, and you have that first floor, 1,500 square foot unit, 1-car garage. If you can bring that in the just north of the ADU price, in the 265 range, I feel like that's a really great start. I really think that opens it up to a lot of people that want to buy a new home, but there's just nothing out there. We just did a quick numbers game. We were wondering, Avinity Estates, we talked about how many homes we sold in there so far this year and how busy it's been. What else is really on the market in that location? And we pulled up, there are 5 resale homes in that school district, those servicing those 3 schools, under $400,000. And
what was that stat again?
So there were 5, this was last week, but there were 5
This is in the Kale school system.
Yep. 5 homes under $400,000 that were on the market, and so there's a need for that price point, and that.
Well, there's also the need for the price point for the $200,000.
There is, for sure.
Price point, and that's kind of to meet the 80% AMI. And as you know, I sit on the land trust, so I know this math pretty good. Area median income, you've got to be in this 2 to 225 mark.
Right.
And I know that's hard for you to do,
Yeah.
almost impossible for you to do, because your dirt's so expensive.
Yeah, we're gonna have an ADU component at Spring Hill, so
Yeah.
the neighborhood just next to Vinny Estates. There'll be 16 affordable dwelling units in there that we're gonna partner with Piedmont Housing Alliance to market and sell.
So
Hold on, let me see if I can say what you're going to say.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Piedmont Housing.
Yeah. So it's a new. He was Sunshine was on last Friday.
Oh, was
so
he?
it's
Okay.
Piedmont Housing now, not
They're
Piedmont
trying
Housing.
to drop
sorry.
the alliance.
They're trying to drop the
My
alliance.
Because of
terminology's
the
outdated.
PHA
Apologies.
moniker and other
Okay.
communities.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, and obviously, as you know, the land trust is something that I'm passionate about, and we're any opportunity that we can partner up to help solve, we're there for it.
Well, the 2/2 model is brilliant because you solve the affordability standpoint for the buyer, but also you make the numbers work on your end with your model because you got 2 SKUs to sell on 1 piece of dirt.
Yeah.
So that's how you're figuring out.
Yeah, I mean that's
that's
kind of
brilliant.
that's I cannot take no credit for it, but it's as a company we've really been doing that in our more metropolitan markets for some time now, and they've been wildly successful.
Why don't we give some love to Pearl Certification and Bill Tucker of Charlottesville Settlement Company?
Yeah, so Pearl Certification's coming to see us in March also. They're going to release some neat product, so Joe's going to be sitting across the table. The date escapes me at the moment, but it's one of our Fridays, so we're excited to hear it. He's told me about it, but I was sworn to secrecy not to talk about it until he gets here. And, Bill Tucker and Charlottesville Settlement, I was on the phone with Bill Tucker at 7:30 this morning.
And yesterday.
And yesterday, as you know, because we
Yeah,
had a
'cause we
meeting.
were here.
And he called, trying to work through some issues. So he's all about making the deal work and closing and give you a phone call. So I love working with them.
Well, what about this question to you? And I think I know the answer to this, but I got to ask, what is the favorite aspects for you in your job?
Oh, great question.
Yeah. So I think the number one favorite thing for me is just these first-time home buyers and seeing them achieve something that, they've wanted to for a long time, or they may never thought they could. But seeing somebody that knows nothing about buying a home and walking into one of our model homes and meeting one of my sales managers and us being able to shepherd them through the process, and then seeing them arrive when their house is done and settle on it, it's super rewarding. And then, driving through a neighborhood like Oak Hill Farm and just seeing how that was Wintergreen Farm and where it came from and what it is now, and you see kids out and families out playing in the streets, and the streetscape looks really good. It's super rewarding.
I got to thank him because of Winnington and Oak Hill Farm.
I know. Go ahead, you do it.
Thank you for what you did for Redfields.
Yeah,
He
right.
profited from that personally.
Yeah, I did.
Right.
Thank you for what you did to Redfields, the south side of Charlottesville. Thank you for making this place and that entire quarter.
Hey, Jerry, this is my show.
Let me just do this. Bruce here. Can I do this right there?
I think we got to send a thank you note to Danny Wegman too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, that part of town, that could be your next Crozet, right? I mean, if they're able to loosen up some land there, and
well, that'd be a bit challenging because a
would.
big chunk of that land is but Biscuit Run, right?
Sure.
Which is a cool thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
It's beyond a great thing.
One of the amenities that really have people wanting to move there. So
I'm going to put you a bit on the spot. So we get the question all the time, and this would be a great opportunity in front of a bunch of real estate agents to talk about this. Mm-hmm. So the client, which we working with you on Sunday, did not realize that they can use a real estate agent in a sale, right? They didn't realize that. And I will tell you, Amanda and your team are very good about saying, hey, are you working with a real estate agent? And Stanley Martin is one of the, at least I think, the best company at doing that. So just talk a little bit about the benefit of using how we make a living and how we help people in new construction.
I mean, my goodness, it's tremendous. I mean, there's so many aspects of the benefit of it. One is, brand awareness. You have a buyer that comes to you and said, please help me with this huge purchase, and you're their trusted advisor on how, what's the best steps to take in order to get to where they want to be. And, so we use RCR Realtor partners in many different ways. One is a marketing resource. You say, there's these resale opportunities, but did you ever think about new construction? And these guys have some great spots, some great floor plans, and they're really good at what they do. The other thing is really just having that trusted third party in the transaction, right? So if we're running a retail situation where somebody comes in unrepresented without a realtor, there may be some opportunities there for the real estate partner to reassure them that what they're hearing and everything is accurate and true. Yeah.
So you used the word that we use all the time on this show, or two words actually, trusted advisor, and that's what I think we bring to the table.
Of course.
And help to navigate them through that. Because at the end of the day, Amanda's great and you're great, but you're focused on the building end of it, right? And sometimes you need somebody who can try to kind of explain to the client how this process is going.
Exactly. It's a great intermediary for sure. This is an emotional process for a lot of people, right? And so for a real estate partner to have that non-emotional kind of bent on things, I think it adds a tremendous amount of value to the transaction.
Well, building a house and buying a house is up there with the major stress things.
Weddings, tuitions,
tuition.
And that's something that...
You had to bring that up, huh?
So,
you're going through that
right,
now.
well, it is. I mean, it's something that we take very seriously. I tell all of the team members that we have that, that's one thing we can never lose sight of, no matter how many homes we sell. Oftentimes we're selling it to somebody that's going to do this 1 or 2 or 3 times in their life, and it's a big deal. And, taking that very seriously is something that we pride ourselves on, and making sure that people understand that.
We'll give some love to the program here to one of our fantastic sponsors, and Roy Wheeler Realty Company. Keith Smith.
Yeah, we love Michael Guthrie, love Roy Wheeler, we love being with the company. It's funny, they get this new construction stuff. They're
for sure.
I spend a lot of time coaching and mentoring our agents about new construction. So hopefully when they go to Chris's sales office, they're prepared and they know how to move forward, because it's a little different, right?
Yeah, sure,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
You don't use a standard VAR contract,
No.
a VR contract, excuse me.
Yeah.
You use your contract, so
Right.
you have to. So that's back to the trusted advisor,
For sure.
Right? So you have to sit and walk the client through that
correct.
and make sure that they understand that. So we teach a lot of classes over there about new construction contracts.
Janice Cavanaugh, Nest Realty, welcome to the program. Neil says this. Neil of the Free Enterprise Forum. Neil says a good portion of the other side of US 29 is not in Alamoro's development area.
Okay.
And Neil is a big proponent of creating more density and taking more of the land of the county that is not designated for development and making it designated for development.
Well, Neil will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's only 5%.
5%.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And I think what Neil constantly, and right, in my opinion, rightly so, is promoting growing that a little bit. Smartly, of course. But, at some point, it's going to push up against that 5% or this urban ring. Excuse me, I apologize. That's the reason I was asking. Okay, so I'm doing math in my head, and where are you going to be 5 or 10 years down the road? If
And that's
this-
why I asked that.
Yeah. So it's a great question to ask.
Yeah, and so 10 years may have been a little longer than I was thinking. I'm focused on my 200 sales I've got to get.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
right.
Got it.
Right. He had a 2020.
Sorry about that.
But no, that's fine. No, but you're right. Yeah, I mean, to have a county the size of Albemarle and 5% being the growth area, at some point that those opportunities do run out.
Well, then that's where you start pivoting to other jurisdictions, right?
yeah.
Hopefully that ring grows a little bit, that rubber band grows a little bit. The infrastructure, I think, is going out that way.
Yeah.
I'm working on trying to bring Brad Sheffield and, I apologize, what's the cat's guy's name?
His Cat Lurvin,
Thank you
marketing
very-
director at Charlottesville Area Transit.
Thank you very much. I'm working on bringing those guys on the show to talk about, how transportation can impact the conversation we're having. Because we're out there, right?
Yeah.
How we're going to get back and forth. How is that
For
going
sure.
to work, and what impacts it's going to have on all of us.
Right.
Thank you for saving my butt on that.
Leah Peaks is watching in Key West, Florida, and she says, this is super fun. Amanda Lamont goes, yes, Chris. Giving you some
Let's
props
talk
as
about
we
Key
speak.
West a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
right.
kind of like in the 20s here.
I would love to.
Yeah, that would be
You're
great.
the one that, from time to time, goes to the beach.
I do. A little further south than Key West.
That's
so-
true. That's true. Claire Sullenberger, welcome to the program. Okay, why don't we throw this to you, Chris? Stanley Martin Company's here. You mentioned what was happening in Albemarle. You mentioned what was happening in Louisa Zions Crossroads. You mentioned the projects in Charlottesville. Throw this broad macro question to you. Charlottesville's what, 10.27 square miles? Very tight community here.
Yep.
Not much land. How do you see Charlottesville, what it needs to do to continue to evolve, to continue growing from a housing standpoint?
Wow, that's
Anywhere
a
you
good
wanna
one.
go.
Yeah, no, I think that again, it kind of comes back to the density, right? And these suburban neighborhoods that we have the opportunities to go more vertical than spread out. Whittington has been a great neighborhood for us because it's really the last of a large parcel community that you're going to find. So people that really don't want to compromise that large lot neighborhood are finding their way to there, and it's been really popular. So I think that you're going to have to continue to look at opportunities like the 2/2 condominium projects and attached product to give us the density to serve all the needs.
Dave Varell's watching. Great conversation, gentlemen. Affordable housing is an important topic in this area.
Agree.
Thank you for bringing it up to all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. We're as long as I got this microphone in front of me, I'll keep on doing it. So, and then we just need to do it as a team. This is no I in any of this stuff, and there's no one entity. And Charlottesville, the city of Charlottesville, isn't going to solve this on its own, and nor Albemarle or any of the
Right.
jurisdictions. It needs folks like Chris, like us, at the table. And I'm super confident and excited that we're going to actually get there. It might be the developer in me that's always positive about things, but
That's what I like about you.
yeah,
You're a positive guy.
Well, I don't know about that, but I just know in the last 3 years it went from I was the only there was a few people, but very minimal people talking about it to now everybody's talking about it. So once everybody's starting to talk about it, I think we can get this
sure.
ball moving forward. As you were talking, I've been trying to Google what is this new word?
Suburban?
Suburban. It's not coming up. I think you made it up, man.
I think it's a brilliant term.
It is absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna totally steal it.
Run with it.
Did you tell him what was happening at the end of the show?
I did not.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, fire away.
Are we close to the end? I just been. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so at the end of the show, we do something called Running the Gauntlet.
Okay.
We're going to fire questions at you.
Oh, boy.
And the gauntlet powered in part by Marie Bett
Yeah.
on Water Street, where you are their top points earner. Is that still?
I am still, as of this morning, the top.
You
one.
asked?
They tell me.
They tell you.
They
And you
tell
said you're number one in customer points.
I am. That's what they told me this morning.
Fantastic.
They were
Marie
gonna-
Bett on Water Street and Rose Hill.
Rose Hill, yeah. I was there yesterday with my future mother-in-law, my mother, my daughter who flew in from Seattle.
How did that go?
I walked in and said, "Hi guys, how you doing?" and left.
It was
'Cause
the
I knew
ladies?
It was the ladies, and
Yeah.
I knew it would be very expensive if I stayed there much longer. But Chris, we were walking out of Marie Bett. he goes, so how often are you here? And I just laughed.
Yeah. He said several times, and I was expecting him to say a week, and he said a day. And
Yeah,
I
that's
said,
his
wow.
second. That's his office.
Well, that's what.
That's what-
Yeah, technically, it really is. That's kind of like my primary.
and he
office.
gets his tail kicked by his wife at Canasta
I do.
over at Marie Bet on Water Street.
do.
Yona's watching. Don't you beat him, Yonna.
I lost by 1,200 points the other day. That's huge.
That is huge.
I'm consistently paying the mortgage
Uh,
because we play for whoever wins pays the mortgage for that month.
That's a good bet, right
Heavy
there.
stakes.
All right. Well, why don't we? You want to start with the question? You want me to fire away?
I'll let you start. Today.
Okay. So the gauntlet. First thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Favorite brewery and beer in Central Virginia and why?
Star Hill. It's
a good one.
Yeah, it's great atmosphere and it's close.
Favorite beer there?
Northern Lights.
Northern Lights is a good one. I love the Northern Lights. It's got good taste.
Are you a movie watcher?
Not really, but I just recently saw a great movie, Ford versus Ferrari. I thought that was excellent.
Great
Yeah.
movie. So if you're flipping through Netflix or whatever you're doing, and you come across a movie, no matter what part of the movie it's in, what movie would that be if you're going to stop and watch it? In other words, if it's like 5 minutes left, you're going to stop and watch it no matter what.
This is probably pretty juvenile, but Wedding Crashers.
That was great.
Yeah, I just laugh.
That's not juvenile. That's awesome.
Makes me laugh out loud every time I watch it. And
Yeah, Wedding Crashers is
my
great.
I expected some really deep thought.
No, it's
kind
pretty
of
simple.
thing.
When you and your wife are going out to dinner, where are you going and why?
Where are we going for dinner?
What's the go-to?
I think the go-to is pretty much Far Downers.
That's a good one.
It is, it's great food, it's good atmosphere, it's local. Yeah.
My wife's
Keep it
son
small.
and I go there for brunch on Sundays. It's
That's
fabulous.
awesome.
Wasn't it a bummer? Did you see that the rooftop is closing?
Yeah, right. They're restructuring that a little bit.
Yeah, into an
Changing.
event facility.
Right, yeah.
Which is genius, actually.
It's
Yeah,
going to
but
be a great event spot.
It's going to be a great event spot because of the view, but at the same time, Crozet, that was the rooftop filled a niche in Crozet from kind of that like elevated dining
Right.
opportunity, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. It's beautiful, and whenever I'm up there, I think about what those rooftop terraces are going to be like in our Pleasant Green neighborhood across the street. It's going to be pretty spectacular.
So I'll give Crozet a shout out. New York pizza, like that's a thing, right?
You like Crozet pizza?
I love Crozet pizza. I've never had a bad pizza there.
Yeah,
That's about as close to back home as you can get.
You guys go there?
Yeah, regularly. I mean, a couple times a year, but not too often. Yeah.
Well,
I like
we're
to
on-
venture into Charlottesville. Oak Heart Social is a really
yeah.
awesome spot too. I mean, it's good stuff.
If you're going to a vineyard or winery, where are you going?
We are packing a picnic and heading down to the pond at Pollock. One of those picnic tables down there, and it's good stuff.
So I got to go back to pizza, right? I just got to do it. So if you're going to eat a piece of pizza, how are you eating it? This is a very important question for you to answer.
Is it like
Oh,
with
I
a
got
fork
a
and
slice
knife,
of, I
or
got
is
a,
that what you're asking? Like, fold it up? Like what?
I'm
Gonna eat it by
asking-
hand, for sure.
This will depend about how many more houses I'm going to sell.
Right. I'm gonna eat it by hand, but I'm not gonna fold it in half.
Okay, that's good. As long as you're not using a knife and fork.
No.
I fold.
Fold
Fold?
over a trash can, so the oil.
That's right.
That's what you do? That's a New Yorker.
That's
idea.
a New York
That's
thing.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're a little oilier, more
Oh,
oily in
well,
New York
without doubt,
than
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just fold it over, let it trip in.
Right.
And you have to put two together.
Most of the time, I'm eating it for lunch in my car, so I'm trying to keep the oil where it can.
No, that sounds like me. I'm
On the move.
10 hours right there. Don't take a break. Eating my lunch right there in
Right.
that seat. Such is life.
You're doing well. sir.
You're gonna, thank you. Are you going to ask him?
I'm going to ask how much time we got.
We got plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm going to. A little higher level.
Okay.
What's the best piece of advice you've been given and why?
Oh my goodness. Best piece of advice. Probably just don't be afraid to make a decision and trust your instincts.
Good for you.
I think oftentimes indecisiveness can really
Good for you.
slow things down.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And you're really good at that. And my good friend Jerry here, I've gotten better with it, with the 5:30 in the morning text. But I will tell you, anytime I've ever make a phone call to Chris on a Saturday or a Sunday and say, hey, I got a client trying to do something, I get a phone call back right away.
He texts you at 5:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
You get
Yeah,
that?
I mean, that's another good one is answer your phone. I mean, you never you just got to take advantage of every opportunity that's thrown your way.
Favorite aspect of your job? You've mentioned first-time home buyers. You mentioned Winnington and Oak Hill and seeing those neighborhoods come to fruition. How about the toughest aspect of your job?
Good question.
It's really anticipating what customers are going to, like what their hot buttons are, right? Oftentimes we come into a situation where there's maybe a bit of a misunderstanding, as you would, because there's many decisions that need to be made in new home construction, right? And it's nobody asked me, or how was I supposed to know? And we do our best to become transparent in the process, but oftentimes it takes a little bit of a discussion to figure out how we got to this place and then resolving the issue. And we certainly resolve them 100% of the time, but just that feeling of somebody not thinking that we provided all of the transparency we could have, when oftentimes we have to ask many questions to realize what truly is important to them. And so always ask another question. It's great.
Good answer.
So you mentioned you like to fly fish, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Where do you do it locally?
In Waynesboro. Yeah,
Really?
I go over there, I'll hike to Sugar Hollow and hike up in the Blue Ridge and do it over there. But it's a really great fishery right in downtown Waynesboro, right out the South River runs through the old DuPont mill, and so it's an urban fishery. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a trophy trout stream over there.
Really?
The Trout Unlimited has done a great job of building an environment where trout can really thrive. And if you drive through Waynesboro on a sunny Saturday, you'll see me and all my brethren lined up in there in our waders fishing
So your
away.
brother
It's great.
lives here?
No, our fishing brethren.
So I heard brother. I apologize.
Yeah, that's all right. No problem.
What's the advice you give to Charlottesville as we continue to move forward as a community?
Oh my gosh. Just be grateful because you live in a really awesome place.
Be kind.
Yeah. It's we're super fortunate to live here. My wife and I lived in Northern Virginia for a number of years, and that was terrific. Served us well when we were younger, and we always talked about where we would retire, and that has all shifted now to when we retire here, because we really wouldn't rather be anywhere else.
Trick question.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you in advance, it's a trick question.
Okay.
You're on a deserted island. You're only allowed to bring one book with you. What would that book be?
Oh boy. That is a tough one.
Deserted island.
Yeah.
Deserted island. Deserted island. One book.
Gosh, something.
There's no right answer, but there's a more right answer.
There's a more right answer.
That's good. That's
Probably
Keith
not
English.
Thinking of it. That is a tough question.
Is Vincent
I
watching?
think like maybe one of those books you read in high school that are kind of eye-opening, that you go into it and you like Catcher in the Rye or something like
So,
that. One of those
again, it's a trick
transformative
question.
books, right?
It's a survival manual.
I gotcha.
Right. So is Vincent watching?
Vincent is not.
Yeah. So when we went to go see him last night, him and Berto play, and I asked Berto the same question. I said, dude, so if you're on a deserted island, what book? It took him like a fraction of a second, survival manual.
Yeah.
And I went, dude, hug me.
Who watches the show?
Yeah.
He knows. Eventually,
Well,
this
no.
question's going to be out because we ask it every Friday. And don't you ask it at your commissions
I do.
in the meetings?
I do.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's a good one. It kind of tells a lot of
Right.
about yourself, but very few people actually get survival manuals.
That's right. That's
So
right.
it's pretty obvious if you think about it. Yeah, it's a good
Chris, you have made this easy.
one. Oh, it was a great time. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, man. Anytime you're welcome. I'd love to try to get Jeremy back in here because the developer geek in me will start.
Yeah,
asking
definitely.
a gazillion-
He's on vacation right now. I think he's somewhere warm, but when he gets back, we'll get on your schedule maybe for the fall and talk about kind of his lens. Like you said, he sees things years and years in advance. And
Well, it'll be good to get him here because we can intertwine that into the affordability discussion.
Yeah.
Right? Because that is the time to get involved in it, where if you have some affordable lots that you have to produce, that we will have the venue to hand out to. to
Yeah.
folks. So, and my hat's off to you working with Piedmont Housing over at
Spring Hill, yeah.
Spring Hill, thank you. Great outfit. Sunshine's rocking the world.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We're super excited about that opportunity over there.
So thank you. I know you have a busy day, and I
welcome.
promised you I'd get you out of here on time. So
Thanks
We're
so
out of time.
much.
otherwise,
Appreciate
Jerry
it.
and I would talk for another hour.
We easily could. And what do you have planned for next week before we go?
It's in flux at the moment, so
We'll let them know next week.
we'll let them know next week.
Fantastic. Guys, this is Real Talk. It's powered by the Yes Team Realtors. We'll take today's show. We'll syndicate it not only on the YesTeamRealtors.com
That's right.
website.
Thank you.
It's a brand new website that's fantastic. But across the I Love CVille Network, 17 Facebook pages, 17 Twitter accounts. I Love CVille, the third largest Instagram in the community, an e-newsletter that goes out to 130,000 inboxes every morning at 11 a.m. We'll put it on the website. We'll turn it into a podcast on iTunes. And we'll just make sure it gets far and wide. Thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate across Charlottesville, Central Virginia, and the Commonwealth. Take care.
Thank you. Judah, thanks, man.
Thank you, Judah.
Thanks, sir. Hey,
Thank you.
appreciate it. It was great.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
One more thing we got to do. We're going to take a quick picture of you over here.
You bet.